Welcome to The Screen Queen, the show where I'll be talking about your favorite TV show or your favorite movie. You'll just have to listen to find out. This is your host, Samantha Parrish. Hello there, and welcome back to the show. As always, I am your host on the East Coast, your Screen Queen, Samantha Parrish. So, this second episode to my anime special is more like a season finale. I really wanted to spend more time with my special. I had so many things planned, but August just felt like one giant Friday the 13th. Everywhere I went, there was a problem, and not just me. I'm sure you out there listening to this episode has felt that August just felt like a bag of smashed assholes. I have so many friends who are going through so many issues right now. I went through my fair share of issues, and I kind of had to make the decision. Do I take care of myself, or do I push myself and do a show? And, well, I chose to take care of myself, something that's still kind of hard for me to do. And I had to just take it for the way it is. I didn't plan for this stuff to bite me in the ass with unexpected plans, and things had to be switched around, and I have been working night and day on my prequel to my first book. It's just been a lot. But I still wanted to take the time to bring this one last episode for the anime series and just cap it off and just try to see what I can come up with in October to get some horror anime series. So that seems like a good compromise. But with all that stuff aside, here is an anime that had me saying, this feels a lot like a better version of Naruto. This anime is like if you took the "it's not your fault" scene from Good Will Hunting and put it into every single episode, and you loved every bit of it. So when I watched Nabari No Ou when I was younger, it was a very different experience to have. And I've been pretty open about some of the movies and TV shows that I watched when I was younger and changed my life, and Nabari No Ou is one of them. Even though I'm going to explain what the plot of Nabari No Ou is, there are so many issues that it covers, despite this being a series that no one knows about. But when you watch it, you can definitely feel that this is something that you could see today with how they handled a lot of the mental health issues within the series. You could throw a dart, find a mental health issue, and find that Nabari No Ou had covered it. So when I was writing this episode, the best way that I can explain what Nabari No Ou is to compare animes to certain drinks. So let's say you have Naruto, and Naruto is kind of like the beer of anime. And then you have Nabari No Ou, which is like the fine wine of anime. Nabari No Ou wasn't a fast anime, and that's what really made it great. You got to stay with these characters that were going through their own issues and their own ordeals, and you had to explore all of those things within some of the action going on, but it is an emotional anime first and foremost. Not that I'm saying that Naruto isn't emotional. I can definitely tell you my mother cried a lot during the anime, but Naruto was stretched out a lot, and Nabari No Ou knew to just kind of keep it simple dimple. I remember watching Nabari No Ou when I was 14, 15 years old, and I remember how it destroyed me all day. I never saw something that really made me think about life. When I saw these characters talking about what issues they were going through, I felt like I could relate to these characters, but it also made me ask questions that I hadn't asked myself before. This is a series that pulls no punches when it comes to really thinking about the choices that you make and how those choices will affect the people around you. I have to remind myself that this is a ninja anime. There are times I'll watch this and I'll forget for a hot second that this is a series about ninjas. But in a way, that's kind of what makes it great. I never thought that I would have to say that I found a thought-provoking show that had to do with ninjas. It could have been easy to make this an anime that had a whole lot of, you can do this, everything is fine, don't worry about it. Instead, you actually bring your emotions to the table and discuss these things, even if it doesn't have an answer, but the emotions were validated. That's the kind of anime that I didn't expect to watch, but now I don't know what life would be like if I didn't see this series to give me an idea about those existential questions. And I had something that really carried me through all of high school when I felt really lonely. To give you an idea of how much I love this story, even though I've told you how much I love this story, there is a book from the series on my shelf that has a spine so shattered that it could rival the erotic dramas that you've seen on the shelves of Goodwill. Like, I read that shit back to back over and over again to the point that I broke the book. I carried that book with me like a Bible. That got me through so much in life, and I think Yoite is the reason why I have an unhealthy obsession with skinny young men, and I am okay with that. So, with all of those random tangents going into it, which thank you for bearing with me, I had no idea how much I was looking forward to this episode until now. Here is the plot of Nabari No Ou for my listeners out there that aren't really too familiar with anime, and trust me, this is an anime that did not really make a lot of radio waves, so don't feel bad if you've never heard of this title a day in your life. It's totally okay. So the story of Nabari No Ou starts with a boy named Miharu Rokujo. And he's chilling. He just wants to go through life. He wants to be left alone. He's not really like a lone wolf. He just likes being in his own bubble. He's basically like, a introvert with validated feelings, but unfortunately, that gets wrecked by some extroverted people that really have taken an interest in him. One of them being his teacher, named Tabari Sensei, that is trying to get him to join the Nindo Club, and he's like, yeah, no, not happening. And there's another classmate that has also been trying to get him to join, and then he starts to notice that there's been some people following him. There are other groups of ninjas that come out of hiding to see how they can ensnare Miharu and extract this power called the Shinrabansho, something that Miharu had no idea was dwelling in his system. To put it in perspective, if the power of the Shinrabansho got in the wrong hands, it's kind of like the snap from Thanos. There'd be a lot of casualties and a lot of destruction. It's power you don't want in the wrong hands, but unfortunately, Miharu doesn't know how to use it, how it works, what's going on with it. It just, pops up whenever it wants to, which does make things very complicated to figure out what to do. However, things get more complicated when Miharu starts to question how he wants to use the power. There's a ninja named Yoite, who is the weapon of sorts for the group called the Kairoshu. But there's something about Yoite that Miharu just can't quite shake, like he feels some sort of connection to Yoite. And one day they have an unexpected gathering where Yoite just flat out asks him, I want you to use the Shinrabansho to erase my existence. It's a heavy thing to ask someone. Miharu's not sure how it works. He can't really tap into something like that, but Yoite is determined to help Miharu understand the Shinrabansho so his wish is granted. However, with these two starting to get closer and closer, is that wish really going to happen? How are things going to get even more complicated? With the fact that this series has a plot like that, it goes in different directions that you don't really have a wrong answer with how you feel about these characters. They're very layered, and they almost feel like a character study for the way that you learn more about them and take things away from it and see how you can compare it to other stuff. It's one of those animes that's easygoing, but it's also something interesting to look at for the unique writing behind all of the characters to dive into something. Nabari No Ou isn't your typical anime that you got in a decade that was usually the rough and tough 'em, slice 'em, dice 'em, spirit gun shooting, Sailor Moon 1, Dragon Ball Z madness going on, and then you have this, which is what I like to call the fine wine of anime. I mean, yes, I can't really be opinionated and biased and say it's the only anime that has a very chill tone. There are other animes, but I also have to say that there are no other animes that are like Nabari No Ou. But when I was watching it, I couldn't help but feel, why does this remind me of Naruto? There are so many dead giveaways to Naruto that I could take a shot for everything I see that feels so parallel to the anime that I'd be so drunk, I'd be drunker than Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. It's that spot on. However, that being said, Nabari No Ou isn't a copycat anime. It did come out around the time that Naruto was the head honcho and, well, still is the head honcho of anime. But they have plot keys that you can see in other various shows. Something that's on the cusp of a usual topic but doesn't feel like it's word for word, tit for tat. So, one example I have to give is a character named Raimei in the series. So, stop me if you've heard this before, but she wants vengeance over her big brother that killed the clan. Gosh, now who does that remind me of? Oh, Sasuke from Naruto, who also wants vengeance over his big brother for killing the entire family. It's like, oh, that kind of hurts. And then it gets a little bit deeper with the fact that both characters, Miharu and Naruto, have the same birthday of October 10th. That one is a little bit of a stretch of convenience, but, I'll let that pass. I would say, to compare Naruto to Nabari No Ou, it's kind of like they're fraternal twins. They're definitely related, but they still have a obvious difference to them. But I will say this. With the fact that Naruto and Nabari No Ou do have plots in common, similar plots in common, I have to be the biased one and say that Nabari No Ou was able to handle plots better than Naruto could. I feel awful for saying that because I also love Naruto. But if you have read or watched Naruto, then you'll know you sat through a lot of filler, a lot of background character. There was so much. I questioned why the fuck it was called Naruto. That plot took so many different directions. It took up so many years of my life. It was like, it was just stretching my patience so much, and I finally had to throw in the towel. And talking about Naruto, with the whole plot of that character Sasuke wanting vengeance over his brother, that takes up, let's say, 200-ish episodes and 40-something books, probably longer. 3 years worth. When I first started watching Naruto in 2005, and I got that absolved for that plotline in 2008, that's 3 years. I stuck with that. 3 years on my birthday that I found out, just to throw that little extra random trivia nugget in there. But then here's Nabari No Ou with that same plot. So take the same plot before. You have Raimei wanting vengeance over her brother, and she does find him fairly quickly. You know how long that shit took to get resolved? 2 episodes! Oh my god, I could have cried from joy that I got to see a resolve that didn't take so much time! Oh my god, when I saw that series and then compared that to Naruto, I realized, damn, they really poured in a lot of stuff. And speaking on that, if you were to say, Sasuke and Raimei in terms of their comparison, Raimei really got to a faster resolve, something that had a little bit more clarity, emotional maturity, everything. Sasuke is just an angst child. Just a big ball of lightning angst. That's exactly what he is. That is the character you're sitting with for 200, 300, oh god, I don't even want to mention how many episodes. It's just a fucking regenerating anime machine with that whole series. But then you have Nabari No Ou, where it didn't feel like it had to stretch your time, it just got to the bare bone facts. The writing was so fast, but didn't feel like it was going fast enough. It was the perfect amount of pacing to understand Raimei's motive, her emotions behind Raiko, and even Raiko's side to let her know what he had to do. Both of them come to a concrete understanding. Yeah, that doesn't happen in Naruto. You get what you wish you could have gotten with Naruto. You guys have no idea how long I have been dying to get that out. That has stuck with me for so long. I feel like I just sent something into the universe. I like purged myself of something. Damn, like, it was such an eye-opening thing to look at the writing. Especially after how I became an author and I had to think about timing, pacing, everything, making sure how you're invested in the characters, but not stretching the audience to feel like they're being used for their investment into a character. Like, oh, come on, stay with them one more episode. This one. Let's keep it going. Let's go. And then I like how Nabari No Ou was like, now we're not going to do that. We're just going to go bingo, bango, bongo, and we're good. So the next round that I want to bring up is the emotion. Now, I have mentioned earlier in the episode that both Naruto and Nabari No Ou, they can be some major tearjerkers. You can't have a story without emotion, and I can definitely say both shows do bring a lot of emotion to be invested in. However, in Naruto's case, over time, Naruto doesn't really seem to be the positive role model that he is displayed in the series. Whenever the anime for Naruto does come up on the Screen Queen show, I'll give a little bit more time, but I'll give a little bit of a preview of my thoughts about it. So when I watched Naruto when I was younger, I did love how this is a character that always said, believe it, you know, you just gotta believe it, and like, that sounds great, but like, what if you're going through something, you just need to take a day. In a way, Naruto almost comes off as toxic positivity, which can be, well, kind of as bad as Barney the Dinosaur, which also felt like it was just be happy and everything's gonna be okay. Sometimes it's not okay, you just need to take a breather. And Naruto didn't really have a lot of moments for that. There were moments he was sad, but like, you can look at Naruto at different emotional elements, but shallow and stale is something that has come up a lot for some people that have rewatched the series and have changed their tune about the way they saw the character. There are some great video essays that do tackle the topic about Naruto being a problematic character, and I will list a couple of those in the description box. But now, with the Naruto side said, here's the Nabari No Ou side. I do have to say, personally, the emotion does drive the show. But, as a tiny little critique to my favorite anime, sometimes that does blindside the ninja side to the series. It is great, but I've also felt so invested into these characters for what they're going through that I'm just like, oh yeah, there are ninjas in this. And a part of me does wonder if that's the reason why the ratings are so low, because it was an unexpected series. We all have that one gem that has absolutely nothing wrong with it because we like it for its commentary and the way that it handled things with grace and care, and that it didn't have any plot holes, but sometimes wrong place, wrong time. And Nabari No Ou could have fared better if it came out at a later date like today, and it'd be wonderful. But it's a series that's not for everybody. If there are people that do enjoy emotionally driven series, then yes, this is going to be up someone's alley. But if someone wasn't expecting this to be so emotionally driven and that's not what they were looking for, then that's okay too. You find your vibe. However, that does make me want to mention something for my next point, which is the difference between the anime and the manga. For the life of me, I could not remember when the manga was released and when the anime first came out. To me, everything is a blur. I just try to get it in the same sort of range of years. But here is the official release dates, just to put in perspective how old the series is. It actually hurt me to read how old it is. So the original run for the manga was from May 18th, 2004 until August 18th, 2010. The anime ran from April 6, 2008 until September 28th, 2008. And looking at that timeline, I watched it in 2009, so I caught it when it was just fresh to the scene and just getting to a few places, because unfortunately, it only went to a few places. But when I saw that it originally came out in 2004, like, I didn't really feel the weight of time. I do now that I can say by next year that it's going to be 20 years since the first release of its debut in 2004, which is amazing, but I never got a sense of time in the book. you could place any year in there and it'll just feel timeless. Looking at the art, I don't see anything that would make it stick out for being 2000s anime. There are some animes you can clearly tell the age, but with the Nabari No Ou, I still can't. The art is so amazing and so beautiful that it doesn't feel like it is a product of the time. It's just its own product, and it's really beautiful to see. However, there does lie the double-edged sword with having a story that needs to go on, but it's green light for an anime. So how does that work, getting an anime out there when the story is nowhere near to completion? Well, Nabari No Ou, like many of the animes in the 2006, 2007, and 8 range, had only a little bit of the source material, and then the anime production would carry on in the same vibe and vision of the story, and made it into a satisfying ending that didn't deviate away from the creator, and still left room open to what their ending is going to be like. So there was a major compromise when it came to continuing a story that isn't done yet to not disrespect the creator. Because shit, it can be easy to do that. If you know the shit that happened with Dragon Ball Z, that motherfucker had to come out of retirement to fix what the hell happened with his story. Like, I'm very thankful that, you know, none of the anime creators, or none of the manga authors got into a tizzy feeling that their story wasn't being respected, and I can say the story for Nabari No Ou was definitely respected. Different, but respected. There are a lot of details that I could go into about the original manga story, and believe me, you don't want me to do that. We will run out of time so fast, but I do want to mention one of the most important things about the manga that I loved is that we got more time with Miharu and Yoite. That was the driving force for me to watch Nabari No Ou. I really wanted to see what was going to happen. Was Yoite's wish going to be granted? What was going to happen to Miharu? And they do get closer in the manga. There are some levels of intimacy between them that isn't sexual, and you can kind of squint and see romantic, but it's a dealer's choice. You can take it for being romantic or twin flames or just best friends. Like, dealer's choice all around. There are no wrong answers here. Their bond is so close. Like, I can feel my heart clenching in on me when I think about them. That kind of dynamic that's so strong and so powerful that it just becomes almost overwhelming to know that level of love exists. And it does. There are other Miharu and Yoites out there that have that same kind of dynamic. But there is one major plot spoiler I do want to give. The manga, is a ballsy thing. They did go that route. But let me tell you this. There has only been a few instances when I was younger that I felt a character brought me to my knees and cried. I know it happened to me when I was younger, watching Mufasa die in The Lion King. I know it happened to me when I watched Bridge of Terabithia with my mom. We both cried in the theater about what happened to Anna Sophia Robb. But when I watched what happened to his character in the anime, and then to read the continuation of his story in the manga, and when I got to the point that he got his wish to be erased, oh my god! I cried all day long. Oh man, that was the hardest hit I had ever gotten from a fictional character. I had never before or since witnessed a story that had to do with a character that wanted to be erased. There's so much mature writing in the story to really feel the weight of everything going, and how Yoite had like a complete resolve at that moment with Miharu, where he's like, I want you to go be happy. I want you to go smile in the future. I want you to erase me. It's like, oh my god, everything changed from like the selfish way that he was to being selfless. And I'm like, oh my god. Oh, I don't have any words. Like, I feel my throat closing up just talking about that moment. And we've all had a moment where we sit with the character that no matter how old you get or how many times you read something, that emotion is still like, will be like you just saw it for the first time. They made Yoitei's wish come true, and it affected everything. But because the bond was so powerful, Miharu felt that there was something lost and he didn't know who it was. You know, we know who it is, but there definitely was like a weight that, like an invisible weight to the series, knowing Yoitei's out there somewhere. We don't know where in the timeline, but somehow he'll come back. You gotta wait a couple of volumes, but he comes back, and it is beautiful with the way Miharu remembers Yoitei and gets him back, which is great. In the anime, there is a similar-ish route. Yoitei's coming to the end of his days, and Miharu says, I can grant your wish if you want. Yoitei opts to not have the wish and just die peacefully. He's going to be around the people he calls his friends, or practically, well, I guess his family at this point. And he just lives out his days until he just becomes fucking fairy dust and disappears and pulls a corpse bride. It's like, oh shit, you pulled a corpse bride. Okay, alright. That reference hurt me and entertained me so much in ways that I'm never going to recover from. But you get the gist. Both stories, both very powerful, but it still felt like it was not deviating away. I liked both different ways that the same story turned out. Which is kind of rare that you get that with any story, whether it's Nabari No Ou or anything current with Marvel, Star Wars, any other series being remade or having to have deviations. As long as, like, the heart's there, no problem. So I want to give a spotlight onto my favorite character, and I'm sure you know who it is. I've mentioned this several times. It's not going to be an M. Night Shyamalan twist that Yoitei is my favorite character and one of my few anime crushes that I had, whereas a lot of other girls were like drooling over Naruto, or they were drooling over Goku, or they were drooling over Light Yagami. I'm sitting there like, I like this tall skinny boy with some issues here. Like, I don't know, man, he just became an additional person on the roster for my anime crushes, man. I had never seen a character like Yoitei until that point. It was a character that brought his emotions to the table, that he was doing everything he could to keep his emotions at bay. There's a lot that you see with Yoitei that you can immediately identify with other people or yourself or someone else that you know. You could take the character of Yoitei into like a psychological definition for many people that experience trauma and don't know what to do or what to handle it. And Nabari No Ou was one of those animes that gave us a character that was speaking about something that we didn't talk about until years later. I've known people in my life very similar to Yoitei that have struggled immensely with past trauma and trying to identify the trauma and moving past issues that has made it difficult to trust people again. That sometimes in that person's own problems of what they're dealing with, they have to deal with it in their own way. And if that means closing themselves off, like, well, maybe their story explains as to why they're shut off. It makes it open to understand why someone's shut off, than forcing them to not be shut off. Some things aren't always fixed with, it's okay, I got you, like everything will be just okay, just cheer up and be happy. And instead you get these quiet moments with Yoitei in the way that Miharu interacts with him, in the same way that Yoitei would want to be talked to and to be understood by. With the way that Yoitei and Miharu come together, they're like two sides of the same coin with how they have dealt with loneliness and the way that they have trouble talking to other people in a way that really builds their friendship up beautifully. We all want someone that is going to go out of their way to understand us and know what has happened to us. Oh wow, man. I can't say it enough for the fact that Nabari No Ou is so underrated, it hurts. There are so many things in this show with all the characters, with Miharu, Yoitei, Raimei, Raiko, Yukimi, all these different characters, that they would fit right in with everything we're watching today. They would fit right in amongst everything I was talking about. Mental health, with having shows that feel equally balanced with action and emotion. Sometimes something doesn't need to be popular to be good, and I get that. But like I said, this needs to really be watched by a lot of people. If you take it aside from it being an anime and see it as a story, it's something that people would get invested into. I went for the hell of it on IMDb to see if I could find any other scrap of trivia, anything else that came through, because the anime is about, it's about 15 years old, roughly. And I really wanted to see if if it had aged anymore, what the ratings were like, and it's kind of sad that it's just an anime that just kind of came and went. In the past 2 decades that we have so many different animes being brought to the plate, and some that really do rise above the occasion, and unfortunately some of those other ones just get discarded and just fall into this cesspool of other animes where it just kind of becomes in this like gray matter. And then here's me reaching into those past decades to bring out this series and bring it to the attention of other anime fans that haven't really gotten into what that era of 2007 anime was like. It's an era that I'd like to get into again at some point on the show. The 2000s era of anime is something I'd like to talk about because there is such a difference that it just kind of feels a little bit weird to exist that time capsule. But with Nabari No Ou existing in that time capsule, it makes me feel happy that I got to see something that literally came and went, but that I always remembered it. And I hope with my little show, talking about this anime, that I can bring some more attention to it and give it the acclaim that it deserves. There are so many other animes that also deserve that, but Nabari No Ou was one of them that I gotta bring to the plate with the other ones. You won't be disappointed with an anime that really does echo something strong that might not have been watched back then, but it paid off today. You spend time with these characters that you feel like you know or you identify with in ways that doesn't feel like it's just generic identification. It makes you do some soul searching, makes you look at things a little bit differently. Makes you feel good that you don't have an answer for something as long as your feelings have been validated. It's that kind of series that you sit with. And I had a great time for 26 episodes that still stayed with me, and I have a wonderful collection of manga books. I hold them so near and dear to my heart. I told you about that Broken Spine on Volume 2. I love this series with so much, and I hope maybe you'll give it a shot too. So that is a wrap. Thank you so much for being here. This episode turned out way different than I thought it would. I completely went off the cuff for this episode and didn't have any idea where I was going to start, but I liked the way it ended. This was a great episode. Thank you so much for being here with me for it. So, now is the time to get back to our regular scheduled episodes, which will be on time, I promise. Now this cruel summer is finally over, it's like, let's get back to business. Okay, so I've added some new suggestions to my little random generator of titles. So let's both find out together what the next episode is going to be on the screen. Let me back this microphone up because things are going to go flying. Here we go. Let me mix this up real good and let's just see what we're going to get. Okay. All right. Oh, I dropped it. Come back here. What are you? You look interesting. Holy shit! Holy shit! Oh! Oh my god! Okay. So, I have in my hand a movie that I love very, very much for very weird loving reasons. Oh Lord, I cannot wait to get into this one. This one, I'll have to see how I want to plan this one out, but it'll be interesting. So, the next episode on the Screen Queen is going to be the Kingsman movies. Woo! Here we go. Oh my god, I can't wait. Oh my Lord, that is going to be so dope. I can't wait for it. I'm going to love that episode. Oh Lord. After that emotional roller coaster that I just went through, this will be nice to just dive into some good old action fun. So, All right, that is officially a wrap on the episode. Thank you so much for being here, and your feelings matter, your emotions matter. If you're going through something in life, you have my wholehearted support for you, and I'm very proud of you. So, all right. Thank you so much for being here. If you would like to catch up with me in between uploads, you can find me on my Instagram at the Queen of the Screen. If you would like to talk to me, you want to cry about the anime, we can do all that stuff there. If you would like to see some funny movie-related stuff I put up on TikTok, you can find me at the Mystical Space Witch. And if you'd like to check out my book series I made called Inglorious Ink, that you can find it in the description box. Alrighty. You take care now. This is your host, signing off. Bye-bye!